I will never forget the sound of the door slamming open. It was not a gentle turn of the handle or a cautious step into the room. It was violent. It was final. When I looked up from the tangled mess of betrayal I had wrapped myself in, I saw my husband, David, standing in the doorway of our bedroom. His eyes, wide and broken, locked on me and the man beside me. His face went pale, as if the life had drained out of him in one breath. I felt my body stiffen, my soul detach, and the walls around me collapse in shame. The bed that had been ours for over 20 years had become a battlefield in a matter of seconds. I could taste fear on my tongue. I could feel guilt searing my skin. And in that moment, I knew something deeper than my mistake was about to destroy everything. But what David does next is what truly killed me. Before I continue, let me pause to say something important. To every single one of you listening, I want to thank you. To my loyal subscribers, you are the heartbeat of this channel. And to all my new and returning viewers, I am so grateful that you are here. If you have not yet subscribed, I cannot wait for you to hit that button because your support is the fuel that keeps me sharing stories like this. Do not forget to drop your thoughts in the comments and share this video with someone you think needs to hear it. Your voice matters here. Now, let us go back into the story. My name is Stacy. I am 50 years old, and for the past 30 years, my life has been intertwined with David, my husband. David is 54, a man of discipline, quiet strength, and predictable habits. We built a life together in North Dakota, a place where winters are harsh and silence often weighs heavier than the snow. He worked long hours, and I managed the home, the bills, and the little routines of our days. From the outside, we looked stable, but inside, something had begun to crack years before that night. The man who was in that bed with me, he was not a stranger. He was someone familiar, someone who knew how lonely I felt when David shut himself away in silence. He listened when David no longer did. He noticed me when I began to feel invisible. I am not here to excuse my actions, but I cannot deny that temptation came wrapped in warmth and attention. When David walked in and saw me, he did not shout. He did not curse. He simply looked. His eyes spoke everything his mouth refused to say. Then, without a word, he turned and walked out of the house. That silence was sharper than any blade, and I knew as the door slammed shut, that silence might be the last sound of my marriage. I sat there, frozen, the sheets suffocating me like chains, wondering if David would ever return, or if that night had already buried the woman I was in his heart forever. After that night, David did not return. His silence became the loudest sound in the house. The bedroom smelled of betrayal for days, and I could not bring myself to touch the bed where everything had shattered. I sat by the window each evening, staring at the road, waiting for his truck to pull into the driveway, but it never did. Let me take you back to how I ended up here, because I know you are asking the same question I have asked myself 100 times. Why? Our marriage had grown cold long before that night. Living in North Dakota means living with long winters, but nothing felt colder than the distance between David and me. He was a good man, steady and dependable, but he had become a ghost in our home. He worked late hours, came home exhausted, ate in silence, and fell asleep in front of the television. I would sit across from him at dinner, waiting for a glance, a word, anything to make me feel seen. but his eyes rarely lifted from his plate. That is when Michael entered my life. He was a neighbor, younger than me by a few years, divorced and always quick to laugh. At first, it was innocent. We would talk in the yard about gardening or about how relentless the North Dakota snow could be. He complimented my smile one day, and it felt like sunlight after years of shadow. I should have stopped it there. I should have walked away, but attention is a dangerous drug, and I was starving for it. The conversations grew longer. He began to text me late in the evenings when David was buried in his paperwork. The messages were lighthearted at first, but soon they carried undertones of desire, the kind of words David had stopped speaking to me years ago. One snowy afternoon, Michael came over to help fix a leaky pipe. When his hand brushed mine, I felt something awaken that had been buried under years of silence. From there, the line blurred. A smile turned into a touch turned into lingering moments, and those moments grew into the dangerous path that led us to my bedroom. I kept telling myself that it was just a distraction, just a way to feel alive again. But betrayal is never just. It grows like fire until it consumes everything. And now, the man I had vowed to love for the rest of my life had walked out of my world without saying a word. He had left me to choke on the ashes of what I had set ablaze. The following week, I tried to reach him. I called his phone endlessly. No answer. I drove to his workplace only to learn he had taken time off. Then I heard the words that made my knees buckle. A friend of his told me David was staying with his brother, and worse, he was already speaking to a lawyer. The thought of losing him forever was unbearable, but when I learned the next piece of news about what David had planned for me, I realized the real punishment had only just begun. I thought the worst thing David could do was divorce me. I was wrong. When the letter arrived in the mail, my hands shook before I even opened it. Inside was not only a petition for divorce, but also a demand that I leave our home. The home we had built together, brick by brick, memory by memory, was no longer mine. David wanted nothing to do with me, not the house, not the bank account we had shared, not even the friends we had built together over the years. He had erased me. I tried to reach him again, not to beg for forgiveness, but simply to hear his voice. He answered once, and the sound of his tone cut through me sharper than any blade. He said, "Stacy, you are dead to me." Then he hung up. That was the last time I heard my husband's voice. The world around me began to shift. Friends who once filled our home with laughter now crossed the street to avoid me. Some whispered, some stared, but most disappeared. Betrayal is a stain that spreads beyond two people. It ruins the way others see you too. I would walk into the grocery store and feel eyes pierce me, as if everyone knew. And maybe they did. In small towns, secrets are never really secret. Michael, the man I had risked everything for, pulled away too. Once the reality of what had happened settled in, he grew distant. What had felt like passion became something ugly, something inconvenient for him. Within weeks, he stopped calling altogether. I was left alone with the echo of my choices. Nights became the hardest. I would lie awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment David's eyes met mine in that doorway. That image haunted me more than any nightmare. His silence, his brokenness, his retreat. It was the death of something sacred. I learned the hardest truth in those long months. Love does not always die with anger. Sometimes it dies with silence. Sometimes the quiet of a closed door speaks louder than 1,000 shouted words. I had betrayed the one man who had given me his life, and in doing so, I buried the woman I used to be in his heart. Now, I live with that reality every day. I am not telling this story to earn sympathy. I am telling it because choices matter. Moments of weakness can destroy decades of love. You may think you are filling a void, but all you are really doing is digging a grave for the life you once had. I lost my husband, my home, my friends, and even the respect I once had for myself. And I learned that sometimes forgiveness never comes. Once trust is broken beyond repair, you cannot force someone to see you the way they once did. David is alive, but in his eyes, I am already gone. If this story touched you, please share your thoughts in the comments. I would love to hear your perspective on betrayal, forgiveness, and second chances. Do not forget to like this video, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel. Your support means everything, and it keeps these stories alive.